Welcome to Monster Monday. So, this was my fear when I was thinking about taking on the Nightmare on Elm Street, the Night of the Living Dead remake, um, because I haven't seen it in a long time, but my memory of it was that it was pretty similar. Like there's definitely changes, no doubt, and I'll talk about all of them that I saw that are relevant that I want to talk about. Um, but for the most part, I would say 80% of this movie is pretty much the same thing. Um, and if not the exact same thing, pretty fucking close. I mean, there's really only minor tweaks. So, what I'm getting at is that I'm not going to have a ton to say. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Jason always says that, and then 45 minutes later, he's like, wow, how much time has passed? Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen this time. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're entertained, but I was kind of bummed because I really only took like less than a half a page of notes because I was like, well, I mean, I already did the Night of the Living Dead review, and I said everything I want to say about what I said in that review for that film, and because this is very similar, I'm not going to repeat myself, not intentionally. So now this one stars Tony Todd and what's her name? Patricia Hill something. Tallman. Patricia Tallman. Hey, she's got a iconic villain's name for her last name. There you go. Patricia Tallman. So she is Barbara, and Tony Todd obviously is Ben. And this was taken over by Tom Savini, the makeups effects fucking guru himself. I think that brings me to my first issue with the movie. My first biggest issue by far is that if Tom Savini himself is directing this movie, the fucking king of gore in the 80s, and in some of the 70s as well, of course, then where the fuck is the gore in this movie? Like, you would expect an absolute, like, explosion of gore on the screen. That's really shocking to me when I was watching this. Now, the makeup effects and the zombies themselves look good. They look really good. They look better than the fucking original, for sure. But that was what the original was going for, and they didn't have the budget. It was a different time. Whatever. I'm not knocking the original for that thing. All I'm saying is that the effects definitely look better, like the zombies and whatnot. They should. They absolutely should. But there's a shocking lack of gore in this movie. Like, couldn't believe it when I was watching. I was like, Tom Savini directed this. Was he so busy directing that he was like, well, I don't have time for the gore, so I guess we'll just cut it out? What the fuck? Like, you just got guys to do zombie makeup and they called it a day? Like, where's the zombies tearing people apart in this? Because people could be like, oh, well, maybe he wanted to stay true to the original. He wanted to make it a little more classy or this or that. What? He was the fucking makeup effects guy on Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. And those shits are gruesome as fuck. So he remakes a film within that franchise where some of his best work lies. Day of the Dead might be his best work. But then you make the film goreless? That's really fucking bizarre, weird move. So that's my first big issue. My second big issue is I think the music in this movie is terrible. Like, the opening where Barbara and her brother are at the grave as usual, as you would expect because that's what happens in the original. When she's being chased and all that stuff, like the high tension chase music, was dreadful. It felt stock. It felt forgettable. It felt just generic. Like, I was really surprised by the musical choices there. I was just like, wow, because the original has that really great music. So it was like a huge downgrade. And I'll tell you, man, there's as much gore in the '68 original version than there is in this one. Like, no joke. Like, it's weird, man. That's so weird. And the music in the original is better. Like, far superior. That's what I was noticing the entire film was that. I would have rather they just used the original music or like just a revamped version of it like they do with like every other fucking remake with like Halloween or with Friday the 13th or whatever. They always use the same fucking music. You make a Halloween film without the Halloween theme? Like, why not? It's Night of the Living Dead. You got a theme that's pretty damn cool. Play it. So I don't know. I just found the music to be absolutely dreadful. The very opening line of the movie is "They're coming to get you, Barbara," which of course is the most famous line from the original movie. So I think that's kind of cool that it literally sets the tone, starts it like, oh shit, we're in a Night of the Living Dead remake, like instantly. Now Bill Moseley plays Johnny, her brother, which was cool to see. And when he like goes face down on that tombstone, I was like, damn, man, that was, woo, that dude took a header right into the grave. That was brutal. It's not gory. It's impactful, pun intended, but it's not what I would consider gory. But it's still like it hits like it hits hard. Like when it happens, you're like, damn, man, that looked painful for sure, and definitely would kill you. And so when Tony Todd comes into the movie, he calls it Hell on Earth, which I feel like is kind of a nod to Ken Fari's, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. That's like hell on earth. So from what I can see, it's a cute little nod. I liked it. Now this to me is a much better Barbara. I mean, a far superior Barbara. She's sexier. She's tougher. She's badass. She takes control. I like it. Now people could say it's the Mary Sue or it's some kind of like feminist agenda to make women look tougher, some fucking stupid shit. Who knows? Whatever. I don't care. I think she's rad. I think she's pretty hot. I was into her throughout. So much better Barbara. Now, I'm not bashing the Barbara from the original because that's exactly what Romero wanted from her, I'm sure, and her performance is fairly iconic. So I'm not taking that away from her. It's just not a character I really enjoy. Just kind of this comatose chick who just sits there and doesn't do anything until her fucking brother like nabs her out the door, and she's more of a she's like the main character of the movie, and she seems to be more of a burden than anything else. And in this one, they had her fucking take charge, and she doesn't feel overly masculine trying to compensate for what she might be lacking in the first film, or she's not too skilled. Though she does seem to pick up a rifle, and it seems to be a crack shot with it, so that might be a little question. But who knows what her past is? I don't know. Maybe she's out shooting people. Maybe she even said it in the fucking film and I missed it. But regardless, it feels good. The shithead down in the basement, this is almost all identical. I found it funny that he was calling them like yo-yos the entire time, and he also calls them like lame brains. I mean, how old is this guy? What century is this guy from? Fucking lame brains. You lame brains. I'm like, are you trying to like make this guy a character from the 60s? Even though this is like modern day 1990. Obviously not modern day anymore. This shit's 30 years old. 30. Wow. And I like that in this version the kid goes to the gas pump and he tries to shoot the lock off, which is such a bonehead thing to do, but he does it, and or a lame brain thing to do, I guess. And it just instantly like sprays out, goes all over the freaking torch in the back of the truck, and then lights the whole thing on fire and blows the thing. That's a great way. That's a great sequence. That's much better executed, in my opinion, than the one in the original. I'm kind of on the fence about which of these I like more. Like, I shouldn't even say like more. I should say what scenes I like better. Like the way this was done versus the way this was done. There's definitely things I would take from this one, and there's definitely things I'd take from the original, for sure. But yeah, there are things in here. Like, I'll take this Barbara any day of the week, no doubt about it. Now, as far as Ben goes, um, I don't know. I like them kind of equally, and that's kind of how I feel about every other character. Like, I feel like Barbara's the only upgrade of the movie. Like, I feel like everyone else is basically the same character. Like, basically felt almost identical to them as I did in the original. Like, they all play it pretty much exactly the same way. She's really the only one that has any growth to her. She's the only one they really changed. Everybody else just acts the same way they would have in the first movie. Like, if the situation was altered a little bit. Or even if Barbara was changed like she is in this movie and she was to interact with these guys, I feel like those characters in that movie would react to this Barbara the way that they do in this film. Like, they just don't feel any different. There's nothing unique or interesting about these characters from a new perspective. And I feel like that kind of brings the film down a little bit as far as if I can be comparing it to the original. And with a film like this, it's impossible not to compare it to the original, obviously. And this time, Ben is shot multiple times by the dickhead in the basement. And they shoot each other, and then Ben goes down into the basement and he finds the fuel key and just starts like kind of laughing himself silly, which I thought was pretty funny. As sad as it is, it is like, it's maddening. Imagine being in that situation and you like look and you're like, here's the gas key, like, none of you motherfuckers could find this. It's like right out here in plain sight. Like, what the hell? No one looked very hard, clearly, because they were down in that basement for hours, and he never found that fuel key. What the fuck were they doing down there during that time? So I'd be laughing too. Like, dude, you kind of deserve it at this point. Then yeah, I mean, she runs out the door. She goes off by herself. She just takes a weapon. She kills people, and she comes upon her brother, who is dead in the back of a pickup truck. Like, he's gone, man. There ain't no him pulling her out into the abyss. Although, supposedly, they're filming, or have already filmed, or something, a sequel to the original Night of the Living Dead with the original actress having survived that, like, being pulled out of the house by her brother, which I'll definitely be looking forward to, and I will definitely be reviewing. Yeah, I mean, just like usual, the rednecks and the bikers are all enjoying all of this, and their misogyny seems to have no limits. The way that they talk to Barbara in this is annoying, but it does make sense for the characters. Now, when they're trying to like cut their way down into the basement, the cut on the door makes zero sense. So there's a cut with like a chainsaw that goes straight up and down, but then like there's the wood block that like goes across the door to secure it. And the door is all the way cut down and past that wood piece, like all the way, like way past it. But somehow that wood piece that goes across the door to barricade it is still intact and hasn't been touched or cut at all. And then he goes into the hole and then cuts through the piece of wood. What? Did he just like scratch the surface when he was going through it first, and then once he finally got through and he got like a 3-foot long line, he was finally like, all right, now I can go in and cut the fucking board. It makes no sense at all. I don't understand why they did it. They probably just had to reshoot it and they just couldn't get another door, and they were like, well, we already cut the door, so we're just going to have to make this make sense. I don't know. I feel like even then you could have shot around it, but whatever. I just was looking at the door like, am I supposed to believe that chainsaw missed that board? Like, what? Whatever. Anyway, but in this version, Ben is a zombie, which it's definitely less sad, but I think that's such a great part of the impact. Now, personally, if I was going to change it, I would have changed it to these redneck yokels were gonna shoot Ben, and then Barbara puts her hand up and blocks their gunshot and is like, no, he's with me, and then goes in there, and then we could have still had the same ending where Harry, that's his fucking name, where Harry comes out and he's like, oh, you came back for us, and they like both look up at him, and then they look at each other, and then she shoots his ass to death, and they're like, no, here's one for the fire, and then we throw his ass on the fire instead of Ben. I think that would have been a better ending if you were going to change it. I'd be fine with them keeping it the same. I think it's fucked up, but I think it's it's a solid ending. So he dies in the basement and he comes up and she has that moment with him. It's kind of sad. It's not bad. I don't hate it. I just think my personal preference would be either keep it the same, which I don't want them to because I would like them to do something different, so I'm fine with a change. So the change for me was what I just illustrated. So that's my thoughts on that. As far as the rest, as I said, like all the performances are similar. The direction in the film is fine. It doesn't feel like anyone's like specific style. I don't watch it going, oh wow, like Savini really had some talent behind the camera. Like, look at the difference between Suspiria, the Argento film from was it 77, and then look at Suspiria 2018 and Luca's version of that. Like, that's a director. That's somebody with an artistic vision who wants to like remake a film for real. Like, hey man, I'll keep elements and I'll keep kind of the heart, but I'm gonna drastically change the style. I'm gonna drastically change the story. I'm gonna fuck around with this thing. With this film, it's almost bordering that like Psycho remake, where it's like shot for shot, almost pointless. That's how a good amount of this film feels. It's like, been here, done this. Like, we're not going to do anything different. We're still going to do the gas pump explosion. We're still going to do the fighting over the basement. We're still going to do the kid in the basement who dies, comes back and kills the mom. We're still going to do the black guy dies at the end. We're still going to, like, the only thing we're really going to change is that Barbara's a badass. That's really the only change in the movie. I mean, as I said, there's little bits here and there, but that's it. So for me, I don't know. People blow this one. People love this one. They say it's better than the original. I do like it. I like it because it's like, does it need to exist? I think that's the question that needs to be asked with any remake. Like, does this warrant its existence? Is it bringing enough to the table different that warrants its existence? And for me, I don't think so. I don't think so. Even though I prefer Barbara in this movie, even though I prefer the look of the zombies, and I definitely prefer some of the way the scenes are handled, which are almost identical to the ones in the original. I just like the acting better. I like the controversy or the conversation or the dialogue better in certain instances and not in other instances. So it's kind of like a give and take kind of thing with it. So I think at the end of the day, when I really think about like, does this film warrant its existence for me personally, it's not really. It's I might as well just watch the original. Like, or this. Like one or the other, not both. It's like I would rather just, I'll just watch one of them. I don't really need to see both of them. Whichever one I prefer. So to me, that's not warranting existence, because I think what's great about great remakes is that the original is untainted. It's not changed. It's not altered. It exists, which of course it always does. I'm not saying it doesn't. What I'm saying is that like that version is the best version of it, and there's nothing competing with it, because anything that tries, it kind of has its own vision. It stays to its own thing. So you can like be like, fuck yeah, dude, I want to watch Suspiria back to back, the two Suspirias back to back, because they're so drastically different, but they kind of still are in the same vein. Now that's a great remake for me. Some people think it's boring as shit and this and that. Okay, fine, that's your opinion, not a problem. But for me, it is. It's one of those films where I'm like, yes, This has taken nothing away from the original. It does not make me want to not watch the original or compare to the original, like more than just kind of the normal comparing. But this one, yeah, it's good. It's good, but it's just Night of the Living Dead. Like, just watch the original. You know, that's the way I feel. Anyway, so I think that's all I got to say on that. Now, Zack Snyder, on the other hand, his Dawn of the Dead remake is drastically different. Like, it's set in a mall. And that's about it. Like, that's a very, very, very few similarities. Just zombies in a mall. I'll look for some homages because, yes, I am going to do that next week. I've committed to this Romero franchise, and I was going to skip it. I was moving on to something else. I had other things lined up I was stoked about, and I was like, nope. Let's not get off track here. Give it a couple more movies. Let's do this. Let's do Dawn of the Dead. I even pulled out the Day of the Dead with Nick Cannon and everybody. And Mina Savari, I think, is in it. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh, this would probably be a fun review, but I wish I didn't have to watch them. That's the only thing. I'd love to review all the Night of the Living Dead bullshit movies that they made with like Sid Haig, the 3D one, and the Resurrection, the animated one. Like, I'd love to watch all those and review them. I shouldn't say I would love to watch them all. I would love to review them all because I think they'd be entertaining content. But I don't want to waste any more time than reviewing them. So that's like, I don't want to watch them. I don't want to sit down and watch them. Because I've tried to watch them before. And I've watched like 10 minutes and been like, no. Fuck no, I'm not watching this. So that's a bummer, but whatever. All right, I tried to extend it as much as I could because I like Monster Mondays and Slasher Sundays to be at least 20 minutes long. I think that's fair for the episodes. I guess we would call them. But yeah, what do you guys think about Night of the Living Dead, Savini's remake? Do you agree with me? Should there have been more gore? Do you think the soundtrack's good and I'm crazy? Do you think the characters are drastically different and I'm out of my mind? I mean, I just watched it pretty recently, so I don't really find much differences in anybody else, but maybe you can point out some stuff that I missed. Other than that, guys, until next week, I'll do plenty of other reviews, so you'll see me probably tomorrow. Bye.